I'm joined here in Hong Kong by Michael Bacina, who used to be the best crypto lawyer in Australia, and he's no longer because now he's moved to Cayman and he is working on an undisclosed venture, which we will not discuss now. And he's not wearing a t-shirt that has anything to do with that.
I will shortly be joining a new firm. I can say it. It's called NXT Law.
NXT Law.
Yeah.
Cool branding, by the way.
Thank you very much. The domain was available.
And when you join NXT Law, what will they be doing?
So, just by way of background for your viewers, I'm a lawyer of 20 years practice. Don't let my youthful face fool you.
He looks like he's 12.
So I've been practicing crypto law pretty much full-time since 2016. Helped a lot of Australian projects structure internationally, helped a lot of market entry there. Number of stars aligned with a good friend I was working with in sending a lot of work to in Cayman.
Share the statistics. I think you just told me you guys had like how many,
I don't know
what percent
number. So
oh, come on.
It's about 1,300 foundations in Cayman. And I think between me and my law partner, mostly him, a guy called Jonathan Turnham, I think between us, we've set up just shy of 23% of all foundations.
Wow.
And that includes non-crypto ones. So
wow,
be a little bit higher for crypto foundations. So we definitely
suffice to say you've been around the block.
We've been around the block. We've seen 1 or 2 or 300 projects. So
wow,
a lot of fun. A lot of fun along the way. We've seen everything.
Okay. And you and Jonathan are not partners in NXT Law and are not doing really amazing things in Cayman. Tell me a little bit about the things that you're not doing.
Well, I will be doing them once my government paperwork comes through, but Jonathan's working hard on the existing verticals, which is deep crypto, so token offerings and DAOs, DEXs, SEXs as well. There's still lots of NFT projects doing things, people looking to commercialize IP, full range of everything, all the way to spicy derivative projects and gambling platforms have been an interesting one.
Okay.
12 months. So there's that crypto vertical, a little bit of crypto funds, but that's not the primary focus, but then also private client work, which usually involves foundations as well. So very focused on helping projects get the best structure in place that's going to work for them and protect them. You know, we've seen the US has taken a dramatically different pivot, but there's still an important need to have things structured the right way. You know, the more successful people are, the more they are a target for people who might want to come after them.
Let me ask you a personal question.
Yes.
Okay. So you know what we do? We do like kind of like take a holistic global perspective on the client's business and help them determine like the optimal corporate structure across the globe. And when necessary, we plug in local partners, guys like you. Okay. You're like a pretty awesome dude. You've been doing this for a long time. You know quite a bit about the industry. Why pick just one jurisdiction?
Well, way back when in 2016, when I really analyzed, you know, Switzerland was an up and coming place then and still is. There's a lot of projects there, but I did a big deep dive on everywhere, and Cayman BVI turned out to be the best. That combination of jurisdiction is just works. So for crypto projects that need to move quickly, they need to have their go-to-market strategy, and they need flexibility. The jurisdiction there is just very flexible. It's always been accommodating of hedge funds. There's I think it's 45,000 hedge funds in Cayman. So
wow,
a great base of talent there, and that was also a big factor. So way back, you know, 9 years ago, there was probably only
we're so old.
Three or four people in Cayman who really knew what they were doing there. And now there's an incredible depth of talent. There's Blockchain Association of Cayman Islands.
Yeah, I'm familiar.
Represents everyone, and I don't actually know the membership numbers, but there's 30 plus directors who are on really big foundations, really big DAOs. They know what they're doing. They've got the education through, and that depth of talent is quite amazing to find anywhere, right? Especially a small island like that.
Yeah. And so what spurred you to actually leave Australia with your family and move to Cayman?
Well, the global opportunity has been growing and growing, right?
Okay.
I was very fortunate that an excellent junior partner in my team was coming up and he could look after the clients because I couldn't have left if it was leaving my clients in the lurch. That's, I do law for the long game. I really like having long-standing relationships with clients.
And you have a great reputation.
Yeah. So I didn't want to damage that. So I was very lucky. A gentleman named Stephen Pettigrove. You should have him on your podcast. He was in a position where he could step in to look after those clients and make sure they were taken care of.
Kudos to Stephen.
Yeah. Very grateful. Without him being there, I couldn't have done what I've done.
Okay.
And he amazingly stepped up for it. My children were the right age for sort of an overseas adventure. My wife's from Canada, so that was a big
How old
factor.
are your kids?
14 and 11.
Oh, okay.
So, but my wife and her family being in Canada, she'd been in Australia for 15 years. And so, very long way from her family. They're getting a bit older. It's good to be closer. So being able to go visit her parents a bit more.
That's really nice.
Is a nice.
So what's it like living on the island?
It's very hard.
Is it also like, is it small? It's probably like a small community.
It's like the 1980s, but in a good way.
I always say that about Cyprus. Like, Cyprus is like the closest place that you could fly to from Israel. And if you, it's like a 30-minute flight, and it feels like you've gone back to Israel in the 1950s. Like literally, like same terrain, but just like much slower.
Yeah. So it's definitely a slower pace. Government things take an awfully long time, and everything's closed on Sunday. People use cash a lot, which is interesting because Australia, otherwise, cash use is down to like something like 11%.
Wow.
Since COVID wrapped, people in Australia have been abandoning cash. But that's kind of nice. It reminds me of like my childhood of going up to the Central Coast in New South Wales, Australia, and being like, all old school. And it's compact. It's about an hour to drive the long way of the island, and
Wow.
25 minutes the other way. They're loving it. So international schools are great there.
And not boring though?
I haven't been bored yet. But look, we're really lucky because we're working on amazing international projects, and the community there
Your kids are not working on them.
well, they're not doing extracurricular stuff. Like my daughter's just in a musical, and my son's got something where they just go, here's a box of stuff. You're going to build a robot that can swim across a pool in the next 7 weeks.
Very
you get
cool.
no help.
Very cool.
So there's a lot of, like anywhere,
Intellectually challenged.
a lot of extracurricular activities.
Awesome.
And just like a really safe community there. So it's the kind of place where, kids can ride their bikes around and run down the street, except maybe at the high summer when it's probably kind of like Hong Kong.
Very cool.
Very, very hot, very, very humid. But it's, it's about, I think, I wouldn't have gone there 9 years ago when there was hardly anyone in crypto, but being there and being able to go and sit down and discuss really cool Web3 issues is fantastic. The community there is very strong.
Very cool. Just going back to Cayman as a jurisdiction for 1 second, has been and is still considered like the creme de la creme for setting up a foundation. And yet it's also much more costly to set up and to manage than other foundations. And for example, Panama or even Hong Kong. Why should people go to Cayman anyways?
Well, we actually helped previously I've helped a number of Panama-based projects roll into Cayman. I won't bore your listeners with all the super technical details, but there's some really important...
For us.
There's some really important fine details under cheap setup. Maybe cheap and cheerful, and to get something out the door really fast, fine. But I've helped clean up a huge number of projects where people have gone to, non-lawyer consulting firms, and they've said, do X. And you look at it later, and obviously coming from Australia, I was always focused on this tax risk, right? The securities risk is a live one. That might have dialed down a little bit in terms of the SEC in America, but the tax risk is still very high. Mm-hmm. Most structures outside of Cayman don't work for the tax risk. There's issues around ultimate beneficial owners and things that some of those little consulting firms back in the day were just smashing out these structures, and they are a higher risk structure to manage, and they often have a fatal flaw inside how they've been set up. So really important that people hire people like yourselves or us, if it's just Cayman, to make sure what they're doing is going to work. It's very easy to just say, yeah, sure, I can set you up a company.
I always say,
carefully
build responsibly. That's our motto.
But that's the reason, is to say, look, in law, you kind of get what you pay for to a degree. You can also pay way too much to people. I think we provide a good value price point. We're not like really the top tier firms that are charging huge amounts of money. We do,
but you're still getting like top-notch quality service. I'm saying that's a representation. Okay. If you're working with Mike, you may be paying, it's not cheap, but like you may be paying slightly below the higher end cost, but you're not compromising in terms of
well below the high end cost.
Yeah. Okay. Whatever. I don't want to make representations about your
no, that's fine. But
fee structure, but I do want to make representations in terms of the quality of service that you're going to be getting. If you're working with Mike, who's not working at NXT Law
just yet,
yes,
very soon. But look, Jonathan and I are super nerds, right? From way back. So, we've been dog fooding on crypto since the early days, right? So one of the things that actually I enjoy most about practicing in the crypto space is getting across my clients' products and understanding them. I've never been a lawyer who just goes, this is my little tiny bit, and I'm going to do that. I don't care about anything else. So I've always taken a more holistic view.
We have a sound effect here for that somewhere. That's exactly what I wanted to. Right? You like that? You like that?
Is that for the bad joke?
Another one.
Oh, that's for the bad dad jokes. But figuring out. I don't know. I've got a huge number of clients that are from those old ICO days that have been successful. They've grown from 12 people in a little house in Sydney to 300 people today. I like the long game in law. I like working with clients in the long run. And to do that effectively, you need to do pretty much the kind of things you guys do, where you try and have other service providers to plug them into. You try and solve their problems. My philosophy of law is like a be useful thing. We solve problems, mostly legal. but many times not. So I always,
I know if the legal side makes sense, then everything else kind of like,
and then I mean, I'll dive in. I have an economics background. I ran a little tech business before I became a lawyer, so I will dive into the tokenomics and try and break it. Like I love to go in and try and break things and say, well, all right, let me at it. Let me see if I can break that and figure out a way to add value in that way. Go, this doesn't work. Let's fix it. And I just do that for fun. So that's kind of the value add of kind of thing we do is we just nerd out on it and try and highlight issues to clients because often they can be focused on, so many balls in the air.
They're too zoomed in also, and they're not even looking at like what's just slightly on the periphery. And when you nerd out on that kind of stuff, then you're able to see like, whoa, you're overlooking here like a really big pain.
Well, that's right. So going through the whole tokenomic cycle for most projects is super valuable. But we just do that because we also think, my view is if you don't understand the technology enough, how can you advise on the law? And there's plenty of lawyers who say, I can just do the licensing. I can just do that and that. But if they're not, doing swaps, putting things into DeFi, playing with it, then how are they going to understand it properly? So that's kind of my philosophy. It's the same thing. If you're in construction law, you should be learning how to be a builder. You should know everything about a construction site so that you make sure your contracts work. So, we do that setup and then we do the carry on contracting work and deals that clients need as well.
Awesome. Keep doing what you're doing, man. I love it.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Guys, if you're looking to set up any kind of work in Cayman, Mike is the guy to talk to. Not at NXT Law.
Sweet.
Sorry. I couldn't help myself. Take care.
Thank you.